السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. ربي أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. والحمد لله رب العالمين.
We are on part 18 of the Book of Creation. We are reading from the Seedbed of the Light. We're on page 8 for us, and this week we will start the second way of the two ways to knowledge of God. The second is the argument of invention. God Almighty has given each species and each member an existence particular to the tasks it will fulfill and the perfections it will achieve. God Almighty has given each species and each member an existence particular to the tasks it will fulfill and the perfections it will achieve. No species comes from eternity because every species has a beginning and its existence is not absolutely necessary. So no species comes from eternity, and because every species has a beginning and its existence is not absolutely necessary. Everything exists by the necessarily existent one's will and preference, while it was equally possible for it to exist or not. Everything exists by the necessarily existent one's will and preference, while it was equally possible for it to exist or not to exist. This truth cannot be changed. I think we should stop here. Just pass those.
Yeah, important concepts or points in the argument. What did you anything? Nothing important. Should we just pass?
I think it's highlighting a point that we had discussed earlier about how things that cannot be the source of existence of anything else, including themselves, are not necessary. So they are equally, I'm not sure what the exact phrasing was, it's equally possible for them to exist and not exist, which highlights that their source must be one that must exist. That there must be a source, rather, that must.
As a consequence.
Right, as a consequence.
As a consequence, we can say there must be a source of existence. Although it seems to be, this phrase attracted my attention, it says in the middle of the paragraph, which is just fair. Because every species has a beginning. How do you know? How do you know? Of course, one way of arguing it, since they are continuously changing, anything subject to change cannot be eternal, because it is continuously changing. Do you understand this logic? It is a very classical logic. Anything which is subject to change cannot be eternal, because eternal must be self-consistent, self-existing, and self-existing thing cannot be subject to change. That's one way of looking at it. But people, materialist people, they don't imagine something self-existing. They just, on a superficial level, they say, the things exist. That's what we see. That's what we observe. It's a very simple way of looking at it, but logically you can question it. How the things exist by themselves. If the things exist, it means they exist by themselves. But although there are some great minds thinking, but they are thinking with a limited, how do you say, cage, not open-minded cage. They are not open to question every aspect of the matter. So if you put yourself in a cage, you don't see what is beyond the limits of the cage. And you can question. If someone, for example, puts himself or herself into a cage of religious belief, they can't really question either. So in this case, as far as being or constraining themselves within the boundaries of their understanding, which cannot be justifiable, when atheist people and certain type of people who think that I believe it is so, this is my religious view, they are both equally static-minded, wise people. So they are both in cages, their own cages. One of them claims that they don't believe in, the other one claims that they believe in. But the claims cannot just justify what they include in their claim. Do you understand? Does it make sense? So both of them are equal. They accuse each other. You condition yourself to deny God. The other one says you conditioned yourself to believe in God. Evidence. Both of them don't have evidence. We have to admit that both of them don't have evidence to justify their stand. So evidence should speak. So species has a beginning because species are subject to change. That's one argument. But more fundamental than this is the further explanation, in the writings of Nursi, and means what? For example, species has a beginning and its existence is not absolutely necessary. Now, is he talking about two different topics? As people usually say that apple and orange, different. What is he talking about? The same event. So when this is like the Quran, it's a Quranic method. Any what in English means end. In English, in Arab, in the Quranic language, not in Arabic language, in the Quranic language specific to Quranic usage, is a further explanation unless it is obvious that the topic contains two different matter, completely different matter. For example, I told you and I told this person as well, it means addition. Apart from this, which is rare in the Quran, rare, I'm saying rare, knowing. So generally, any end in the Quran means further explanation of the same subject. We have to pay attention to. So Nursi himself also is really a person fond of the eloquence of the Quran, so follows the same pattern in his writings, imitates. So every species has a beginning, is further explained in the following phrase. Its existence, it means the existence of every species is not absolutely necessary. Now we can go back. Well, if it is not absolutely necessary, it means it has in its existence a starting point. Because it is not absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary means what? Absolutely necessary has no limit for being necessary. That's why when you say the necessary being, which is the logical conclusion, it means absolutely necessary being. So absolutely necessary being must be the source of existence of these species or everything in the universe. It means really no beginning, no end. We cannot imagine there is no such thing within the universe. That's what we call it absolute. That's why we call it absolute. Right? No. So refresh your mind.
We're talking about a species being.
Yeah.
Having either a beginning or an end. Necessitate.
No, we are questioning whether they have beginning because we haven't seen them, have we? I mean, these archaeologists talk about these are just archaeological findings. You may find this and you may not find that. It happened millions of years ago. I don't know. How can I justify it? They make some sort of explanations. They say they studied their DNA structure. I don't know. But it's not practical for me. What practical for me is the logical question. But I'm a human being. I have to see the evidence in front of me right now and logically question their existence. So every species has a beginning. If you question them, well, how did you know? Because every species is subject to change. So what? If something is subject to change, its existence cannot be necessary because it's subject to change. Do you understand the logical sequence?
Like it doesn't have to exist.
Of course.
That makes sense.
Because there is no reason within its own existence that it has to exist. So it is not absolutely necessary. It means if a preference for them to exist, but not from themselves, but from somebody else, then they exist. Otherwise, they don't. So that's why human logic is forced to question. Forced to question, since their existence is not necessary, because I don't see any reason to accept that their existence is necessary, because they are subject to change. So that absolutely necessary, another emphasis is given to the word necessary. It's absolutely necessary. Then I must say its existence, anything, its existence is dependent on something else rather than themselves. And even my questions, what is this something else? Because we are saying everything in the universe is dependent on its existence. Because everything continues with change. So, what is the factor? We call it source of existence of these things that make them exist. What is the factor? So we cannot find it within the universe because there is no exception within the universe which is not subject to change and which has the quality to make its existence necessary for itself. And we don't see anything which makes its existence necessary within itself, for itself. So there must be a cause of existence. And this cause of existence is called the source of existence. And there must be. That is why we call it accepting the creator is necessarily logical conclusion, not experiential in its physical sense. As we are used to seeing somebody making the buildings and this building is made by some people here. See, sorry. I think somebody knows the door as well. You find it difficult to follow the reason? Is that it? Is that? So we have to be comfortable. If you say believe, all right. Alaykum salam. Don't put it away. Close that. So, has everybody taken one or two? Did you offer one more? And some more? Okay. Oh, okay, he can use his own fork. So there is more here. Here with me. There is more here. Yeah. Well, so this is why we say we should never ever put ourselves in a cage, either in religious sense or in atheist sense, in a denial. We have to open. Yes.
The relationship between as a beginning and change, I did not understand.
If something changes, it is not self-subsistent. Now, if you are changing, it means you don't give existence to yourself.
What if I change myself? What if I want to change myself?
Do you see any quality in anything which changes itself from itself? Yeah. Do you change yourself? Simple logic. Ask question. Lord, everything in the universe is subject to what? The order. Yeah. So it means they are, if you like, slaves of the order. But I hate order. And I am, and my particles, my everything, my cells, my particles, my atoms, everything is subject to the order. So they are subject to the order. It means they cannot exist by themselves so that they can put the rule for themselves for existence. So they cannot be the source of their own existence because they cannot decide about their own position. They are all dependent on something else external to them.
wonder what does it.
So you are in the middle of the discussion, but inshallah you can
Look at it.
get into it. Yeah. Okay.
So I was wondering, what does it mean? So no species come from eternity.
What do you mean to come from? Tell me.
Yeah, what does that mean? No species come from eternity.
No species. I'm sorry. I thought those species came back. So no species comes from eternity because
From eternity, so as in like out of the blues? Is that what
oh,
it's
the comma
referring
is
to?
wrong here. There should be no comma. Huh? Because is used to justify the previous phrase.
Yeah, but what does it refer to? The concept of eternity. So no species come from eternity, as in out of the blues. Is that what it's referring to? Nothing is coming out of.
By itself is eternal. It means by itself
But
it
it's
is
not,
eternal.
nothing is coming. Okay.
So it means by themselves cannot be eternal. So you cannot say the matter is eternal. And the author is giving reason why. Because every species has a beginning. We can generalize this argument because he has in mind that he is going to specifically talk about biological beings, now you say, animal beings. Yeah, that's why the species. You can say everything, every particle, you can say. So because every particle has a beginning, how do you know? Has a beginning. Of course, we know that every particle changes, and every particle is subject to something else than themselves. They have to follow, right? They are not independent decision-making agents. Okay, continue. That is, and means that is. Further explanation. Every particle's existence is not absolutely necessary because we see no quality within every being which makes its own existence absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. For example, my existence is not absolutely necessary. The existence of my cells are not absolutely necessary. Yeah? Because I see no quality in it. That it will make itself, its existence, necessary. I don't see any quality in them because they are under my observation. So what I see now, since there is no quality in anything which will make its existence absolutely necessary, but they exist in an ever-changing position, right? They exist. But they cannot make its own existence absolutely necessary themselves. There is no quality. They are subject to change. They are dependent on something else. To sustain their existence, they are dependent on something else. They follow something else, which is what we see the order of the universe. Order of the universe is not caused by the things themselves. For logical reason, again, why the order of the universe cannot be the result of the things themselves, then the things must control the order. But what we observe simply, the things are subject to the order. Order seems to be constant, but the things are subject to it, but order also, existence of order is constant, but it is also continuously changing. But this existence is constant. You see what I mean? No. You look puzzled. So, well, order, what we see after seeing the actions, the way the things are acting. There is no order here, in one hand, and there is no particles of the universe on the other hand, then this universe is obeying this order. Because order is a nominal concept. You understand? Nominal concept means we look at the thing simply, we say, oh, it is arranged. There is an order, it is not accidental. It's not happening by itself, it's arranged. But if there was no thing at all, would we be able to talk about the order? There's no order in matter. Because order is the concept, human construction. After observing the universe, the things are acting in a certain way. We call it order. Some people call it laws. Some people even go further with a very strange claim, natural cause. Just why natural? They twist there, how do you say? There, they twist their idea. Because it's in the nature. No, it's not in the nature. After you observe the order, observe the actions of the beings, you conclude that they are acting in an orderly manner. But that is your conclusion, that is your naming what you are observing, not because you have seen such a thing. For example, I say this table is rectangular. Yeah, the computer is rectangular, the shape-wise. If there was no computer, would I be able to invent the concept of, or to know the concept of rectangular? It doesn't mean that there was a rectangular concept and the computer came into it and made itself subject to it. There is no such thing. Because I see the computer in a certain shape, I say it is rectangular. That's my naming it. For example, it could have been, let's say, another word for it. Because I'm making this conclusion. Because I see the certain quality in their existence, but they cannot be the source of that quality by themselves. They are subject to that quality. Do you think rectangular, the notion I developed, is produced by the computer? What am I talking about? I am talking about the result of my observation and naming them. That's very important. Does it make sense?
But things act always the same.
That's
why
my
we call it order.
observation. That's my observation.
Yeah, according to my observation. Why do you say order change then? Because things always act same.
No, things do not always act the same because they are acting not by themselves, by following the order, and we observe that order is continuously changing, but it never becomes disorderly as my concept. See, I don't say that universe yesterday there was an orderly universe yesterday according to my observation. Today, according to my observation, everything became disorderly. Do you see that thing happening in the universe? No. So there is no, always it changes in an orderly manner as far as I can observe it. As far as I can observe it. That's why emphatically we talk about in our discussions that there are two aspects of the same event that we observe. One is in a spatial observation, I see that the space is coming into existence within an order. I name it this order because I see that there is no chaos. Okay. And also, they are subject to change. Their change also is taking in a way that I call it order. So their changing is also orderly.
How do you say they are not acting always the same?
That's what is static in the world. No one can say that something is static in a moment.
Not steady, but they are always acting same. That's why we call
No,
it order.
what
No?
does your body act the same always? You were young 10 years ago, I think. Not the same, but continuously changing. But changing in an orderly manner, which I call it order. Because I see that it is the word, as the sentence will say, what was it?
Like basic examples. Gravity is always there and same, acting
Where
as
is
same.
gravity? Where is gravity? I mean, I see that the things are subject to certain direction. I call it gravity. There is no external existence of gravity out there that they are pulling. There is no such thing. But that's the result of my naming by observation. Or that is my naming the result of my observation. That is I am naming it. That everything goes this way. And they are as if they are pulled. Yeah, that's what we are experiencing. I cannot deny that. Yeah, I was looking this thing. So it will. They are how I come to the conclusion of they are acting in a manner that I call it orderly manner because they fulfill and the perfections it will achieve. It means they are always aiming at to something. I can see them. That's what I call them. They are purposefully being changed. Purposefully being changed by an external agent. Why? Because I see no sign in themselves that they know the future and make a purpose for them. So they are struggling to achieve that purpose. No sign of this quality within themselves. But they are made in such a way that this purpose, I conclude, they are being changed, to be precise, in order to fulfill a purpose in their existence. Now, do they have any quality to think the future? Do they have any quality to have an aim that they are going to succeed? Do they have do you think anything in particles, any quality that they are really doing something consciously in a harmony with numberless, uncountable particles act in the same way? Do they communicate with each other? Let's do it together. For example, my typical simple example is bricks of the house communicate with each other that you stay there, I will stay here, so that there will be a wall and equality.
So much as I can observe, no.
As if there is. Does it make sense?
Mm.
But it means there is an act of purposeful arrangement in their existence. So that we say house is made. No one says house, the particles of the house, let's make it very simple, bricks of the house made themselves into a house. Then the architect and the people who work there will come and beat your head, saying, idiot, we made it. The bricks don't know that they are going to be there. I put it there, that's why they are there. They will come there by themselves. So, that is human logic. That's why we can only trust our logical conclusions of, be careful here, we can only trust our logical conclusions of our observation combined. We understand? On one side, logical conclusion, the other side of our observation. You cannot abstractly say that, for example, the things happen by themselves, or the things are created by God. Both of them are equally wrong, because it doesn't show any evidence here. What are we supposed to say? I conclude that the things cannot exist by themselves because of the purpose, because of continuous change, because they have no quality by themselves, lots of reason. That is my logical conclusion of my observation, what is going on. That's why in the language of the Quran is used observation, shahada. You have to make observation, mushahada. Without making observation, you cannot base your conclusion on abstract notions that you accepted for any reason, because of the cultural background, because of your religious tendency, whatever. That doesn't make sense. So, in both sides, if someone blindly concludes that the things are created by God, is exactly the same not on the other side. The things exist by themselves. One of them is called religion, the other one is called atheism, philosophical conclusion, human philosophical conclusion. Both of them have the same quality, which has no base. So must be result of the object observation, and this result must be logically consistent. That's why I am a human being. I have to have this logical consistency in order to make my conclusion acceptable by myself. Okay, you want to say something?
I was just gonna say that in terms of arguments for things being the cause of themselves, what's usually invoked is something that puts the person out of the scope of observation, in that by saying these things happen over, billions of periods of time, right? It also makes it, again, out of the scope of observation by invoking the authority of time, as though placing larger span of time increases the likelihood of these things happening.
Yeah, this is a trick played by materialists. I call them bias philosophers, or they now they are not great philosophers. Now the scientists make arbitrary interpretation. So scientists they just say it easily without really looking for the logical consistencies. So they are not really philosophers. Philosopher is really somebody who thinks seriously in a constant way. So I don't know how to call them. If I call them scientists, they are not philosophers. If I call them philosophers, they have no quality of consistency or reason. I don't know what to do. so-called people, like the majority of the believers in the market. Everyone says, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm Jews, I'm Buddhist. That's it, without thinking. Well, this is also the same thing on the other side. So, come to your point.
Oh, I mean, my point was just that even if you invoke time into the equation by saying that, well, you know, if billions of years pass, then suddenly their argument is that it becomes more likely for the bricks
Yeah, it
to
is
be put to
developing by
themselves.
itself. No,
Right. And you can't observe billions of years, so it is like you said, sort of a trick in that it puts you out of the scope of observing for yourself and coming to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because you say, well,
this
I
is the
can't.
trick. This is the trick of those people. Okay, but although you say billions of years, let's make it simple. Billions of days. Okay, it means they say years. Yeah, but this billions of years include now or not? Does it include now or not? No. Okay, I can experience it. What is claimed there, it's a trick, really simple trick. What's claimed there, it has been happening in this way, okay? The conclusion is that the order of the universe, stability of the universe happened by itself, okay? I don't experience, as you said, millions of years back, billions even, not years, or let's go back, but I can experience a piece of it now. Can I not? No, it is I am. It is in front of me, happening the same sequence of the same events. Right? So I can question now. For example, if I say a chain of dots brought me to this point where I am. Okay? But these dots are the same dots as they claim, right? So the same particles are exploding, following certain order, or making their own order, turning their disorder into order. Yeah, okay. But same nature, the dots with the same nature are within my observation. Now, there's a particle, a part of these dots. I can look at the particle now, whether they can make any conscious, purposeful decision for themselves in harmony with all of them, so that the order must be established together. Every individual decides by itself. Can the order happen, come to existence, as I observe order in the creation, as I call it order? If they independent are, every brick decides by itself without corresponding with each other, can they? So look at the quality first. Do they have the quality to communicate? Of course, this is not the foundation. The fundamental step is, the foundational step is, do they have the quality to give existence to themselves? Particles, within my observation, yeah, these particles, those people claim that it has been developing, and the order accidentally happened at the end. According to the order, some people now, because they cannot accept accident anymore, because there is no accident in the universe, they say, no, according to the natural laws. What natural laws is order? What is order? That's your observation. Yeah, that's your observation. Result of your observation. There's no independent existing thing which are called natural laws. That's your observation. You see that every time happens in the same way, but it is changing, the same way, but the result is changing in a regular base, so that I can see the regularity in their change and name it. Change is taking place within an order, right? Within an order. I name. So there's no order, as we said. The rectangular shape doesn't exist without the object itself. If there was no rectangular shape in the universe, could human beings imagine, there is rectangular here? That's our naming. That's what the Quran says. It's very interesting. This is nothing but they themselves and their forefathers themselves named it. It's a miraculous phrase in the Quran. They named the Quran says. And their forefathers named it. They are inheriting, repeating what their forefathers said. Naming it, سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم. You named it. You put the name. You said this is happening in an order. Order it from itself. Order is from itself. But can you prove it? So if I understand that the particle I am observing now has no power, no quality to give existence to itself, number one, and is subject to change, number two, it is not originally existing, it is not deciding to change by themselves, it is subject to change. That's why very careful here. From one aspect, they say natural, the things change according to natural laws from one hand. Now be careful. On the other hand, when the argument fails, they come back that the things constitute the natural laws, source of the existence of the natural laws. Which one? No, I think I couldn't make this clear to others. No, you have to think seriously, man. Use your human ability. Otherwise, you just keep imitating.
The first part was easily understandable, where you said that the things are subject to change according to the natural laws. So here's you're attributing the change to the natural laws.
So you ask the second question, Nanta. Actually, so what are you talking about? The natural laws. And what are they? Well, the things are acting themselves in such a way that this type of action, I call it law. You can.
Yes, yes.
So the second part is, that's my invention. That's my naming. Although, as a result of my observation, be careful about this. The materialist people don't see this self-contradictory claim.
Where you're naming it yourself.
So, for example, my body acts in a way that I want. Yeah. And where did I get this free wanting? Yeah. This is within my body.
Is it? What about like this example? Let's say when I drop this piece of paper, I see that it falls, right? And I call this process or this observation gravity.
I call it
gravity. And then when someone asks me why did the paper fall, I say it's because of gravity.
It means because of paper.
So I make the observation itself also the cause of the event that I also just named it the same as.
And but the same, it means because paper falls, that's why it falls.
Right.
Abdurrahman, you should understand this kind of thing.
I understood.
You see what I mean? The proper language is necessary, my language.
Like x equals y. Why? Because y equals x.
Well,
That's it.
something like that.
Yeah, so I
Are you
had
going to ask a question? How dare you do? Okay, of course.
so I was wondering if a proof of what you were talking about is that if we observe human beings interacting with one another, then we know that we think and we know that we make decisions consciously. And when we try to coordinate with one another to make a working world, we see so many pitfalls in our efforts. We see ourselves messing up. We see ourselves.
Look, that is
Unable.
the limitation is mainly of our consciousness.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
That is why it is caused from it shows and demonstrates that my consciousness is limited because I cannot fully use it. That's why I fail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you learn a subject, for example, you become more and more expert on it.
Yeah.
But if you don't learn, you know nothing about it. If you learn a little bit, you act a little bit within the necessities of the subject. It means depending on my development of my own consciousness, how much I use it. For example, if someone doesn't use his mind at all, he cannot really process the thinking because he has not used it. But potentially he is. Okay, I interrupted you, but you are
No.
going well. Yeah.
I was wondering if, if it's the case that human beings actually think, and somebody were to make the argument that particles themselves, particles organize themselves to, create order in the world.
So, look at this. Underline the particles organize themselves in order to create.
I guess order. Yeah, I guess it depends on which argument you're looking at.
Source of, but because the main problem is that source of the existence of the thing we call in inverted commas order is the thing itself, or the things are subject to the order. Which one?
I'm thinking of the former. So if someone were to make that argument.
So they are producing the order within themselves,
Yes.
but it means creating the order.
Mhm.
Okay. Creating means giving existence. Now, do human beings, you are well reasoning, I appreciate that. Do human beings create their consciousness, or they are using the consciousness which exists within themselves, or which is given existence? This consciousness is given existence by the one who gave existence to me. I did not create consciousness. I did not create my ability to use my consciousness, to utilize my consciousness, because I follow a way in order to develop my consciousness. I need it. I am not the source of existence of my consciousness. So I cannot create anything. I use the things which are created out there. So I use my eyes, which is already given to me. I use my brain, which is already given to me. I am not creating my eye. I am not creating my brain. I am not creating my consciousness. I found myself being as such. So you cannot create anything, but you, human beings, can follow only what is already created by using what is already created. We cannot.
So would people who ascribed that argument would they, the argument that particles, for example, are self-created,
Arrange themselves.
would they also maintain that particles must be more intelligent or a superior species to human beings?
So you can even, okay, that's very good, excellent, isn't it? Yeah. Great. What is your speech? What are you studying? What do you
I do consulting.
do? Sorry?
Consulting, business consulting. I don't
Okay.
study anything particular.
Okay, you've done maybe your stuff. Whatever. Okay. It was very good. Very good. Thank you. We have to see whether particles are consciously communicating within each other, right? That seems to be. We see, can they communicate within each other, or they are both subject to something else? First, in their existence, they are subject to something else to give existence to them, because I see no point claiming that they exist by themselves. Can you claim that you are a conscious being? You can experience as a human being. You existed by yourself.
No.
So consciousness tells you you did, because you know that you cannot sustain your existence. Your existence is continuously changed. Can you stop it? If I could, I would be still young. I could. So it means I am subject to. I am not the source of what I am doing. I am subject to something else. If I was giving two hands, I am using two hands. Yep. If I was giving one hand, could I make it myself with two hands? It's not my choice. It is given. It is given. So particles' existence are given. Yes. Particles are following certain pattern, as I observe. This certain pattern cannot be the origin of particles themselves, because their existence is not the origin of themselves. So the qualities are, if you like, loaded on them by their creator, maker. Otherwise, they cannot create themselves. They cannot be the source of the existence of their own qualities. That's what we understand, as you use the example of human actions. Maybe someone may say, how do we know that the particles don't have consciousness? Even they have consciousness, they cannot establish the order to which they themselves are subject. We understand. They are subject to something else. I call it order. There is no external order. They are, because they cannot act independently. They cannot. For example, human beings say, choose. They have free will. Today, I am going to speak to Betty. Right? Call her. If she's going somewhere, we can go together. Yeah? A couple, like this gentleman. Like this man, let's go together. Right? But you made a preference, didn't you? You made a preference. For example, you didn't call me, I haven't received any call from you. You called them. Now, what does it mean? It means you have free will to choose and decide among the options. Now, do we see any particle or any air molecule, for example, a sign of free choice? Or what is it doing? How can we explain the movement, the change in the air particles? Do they act by themselves? Do they have free will? I'm going this way, not that, what you do. Yeah. Even you do, still you are using the abilities given to you, which doesn't belong to you. You are practicing your abilities, which are given to you. You are developing it by learning, right? But again, if you don't use your free will to learn, can you learn? If you don't really choose to pay attention to, for example, come here and sleep, can you learn anything? You have to make decision to learn it. In order to make the decision, you have to have free will, right? Even human beings have free will. Are they freely choose anything they want or given options they choose? From given options, which one? Sorry?
They're given options.
From given options. So again, we are subject to. No human being can say that I created myself. So how can I say that my cells created themselves? At the best, they may have the same qualities as I am, but still we are all subject. We are all subject to someone's or something, the will of something else. I am subject to will of something else than myself. Do you understand? So the particles, even they are conscious beings, they are subject to will of something else, and they are bound to follow the will of something else. So they cannot be the source of existence of anything because they themselves are subject to something else. So this assumption does not show or demonstrate any proof that I can confirm this assumption. Everything is subject to something else. So as a result, I see the order and I call it simply, they are subject to the order which is not given existence by themselves. For example, can you choose from among something which you have given existence? You have given existence to. Do you understand my logic? Can I repeat? Or shall I? Somebody can you? No. Can you choose something from something else which you have created, you have decided? No, we are all using given elements, and we cannot claim that we are the source of the existence of our qualities. Even we are experiencing the qualities by following the limitations of something else. It means some another thing's will has decided for my existence to be in this way as I am. It means I am dependent. And I am dependent on something. Accordingly, I don't change myself. I am being changed. So my cells don't change themselves. They are being changed by some other will, not themselves. Do you think something can, if, I know you want to say, if something else can make the decision to choose by itself and from among what itself has created, first, it must be the source of existence of itself. First, it must be the source of existence of its own existence, its own being. Do you understand? No? Yes?
Why? Because if it weren't, then it would naturally be subject to something else.
It wouldn't be, yeah. So if you are self-existing, it means you must be self-existing in an absolute way. because you gave creation to yourself. It means you must have absolute quality to give existence to yourself and then act accordingly freely. Yeah, I understand that. But is there any sign within my observation that anything is able to give existence to itself by itself within the universe? If you are a conscious being, ask yourself, can you give existence to something without following somebody else's or something else's will, or without following the will of something else other than you? But as a human being, I found them. For example, if I want this one to be here rather than here, change it, right? Can I just will it and it happens, or I follow certain given conditions? Do you think I created these conditions or I just found? Which one? Found. It means I am subject to something which is not given existence by themselves, but by myself. So the particles can, at best, be like human beings. Even human beings, can you imagine? For example, numberless human beings are acting animals. No. Go and see a family which has two sister and brother, whatever, and the mother and father see the conflict. So even your free will, you want not to have conflict, do you? Yeah. Can you make it? No. Your will contradicts my will. Your will contradicts your brothers or sisters. Okay, brother or sister. Well, okay. You'd say, this is my room. Your brother says, I want this one. Conflict. Okay? And then you consent because you can really fight against. You can impose your wish or your will on his will. How they are all numberless, countless particles will come to terms that they will act in harmony so that they will develop the whole universe in a more perfect orderliness. First of all, they are not the source of their existence. They can't be. They are subject to. Finished. I mean, argument finishes there. They are not absolute. Think about it. If it doesn't make sense, come again. I mean, come not now, next week. No. I don't mean next week. But come again. Now, come again with your question right now. Open. Think about it.
Yeah.
Because our minds are conditioned with certain vocabulary. Everybody talks about natural laws, don't they? Those people who go to school. And the science, this physical sciences, establish their principles on natural laws, basically. So we just accept the notion without questioning. What are they? Do they have an existence somewhere? What are they? What do you mean by natural laws? What do you mean by natural? What do we mean by law? We don't question because our minds are conditioned. That's why if a person studying the universe and comes up with an option saying that there is no natural law within nature that we call universe, what do they do? Shut him up. Him or her up. They don't give position to him in any institution in this they call it scientific research institutions. Why? contrary, not contrary,
Conflicting.
conflicting, contrary
Contradicting.
voice. Then what kind of? Let me think. The word conflicting, contradicting voice. You know, clashing. Yeah, this kind of voice, because you start as a human, freely thinking human being. You start. No, some people say this, some people say this. Which one is correct? And you start thinking freely as a human being, not a monkey anymore. They don't like it. That's why they don't give chance to any opposite idea, any contradicting, opposing, or in other way, not necessarily opposing. That's what they say. For example, I say brownie is made by a man, a person, and the other one says no, it made itself into a brownie. The elements of the brownie made itself. What are they? Counter argument, completing another option with another option. They don't let it. Why? They don't feel comfortable. They don't feel relaxed because they don't feel safe. They don't want to hear any opposing idea because they don't feel okay. For example, what the Quran says, that is what I am suggesting you, right, is the way to explain the existence of the universe. That's the only one way. If you have another argument, please come on, bring it. Why? He's confident that the source of existence cannot be found within the universe. No one can demonstrate it. So comfortably says, don't you think? Come on with a counter argument. Yes? Counter argument, come on. And make me fail in my argument. Free. You can challenge the Quran if you like. Come on, go ahead, try. If the people buy your opinion, let them follow. Free. But the science can decide, have this freedom of choice, option, especially to students, can they? No. It is according to free, liberal country, America's law. It is against the law to teach any scientific subject basing on another argument which doesn't accept natural laws. As soon as you do it, you are sued, and the law prevents you. Help me with the word. Sorry?
Practicing.
Excludes you from the job.
Excommunicates you.
Lays you away. And this,
Fires.
sorry?
Fires you.
Yeah, fires you. Then there were law cases. What they did? They said, no, you cannot teach religious argument. Religious argument means, okay, they are very clever. Extremely clever. They are very clever. Smart people. They say you cannot teach creation according to Torah. Right? Because science cannot prove it. And do you think atheists, the approach is provable by science? Atheistic approach, provable by science itself? No, it is a self-interpretation and imposing, self-imposing. Now, Do they say that no, natural laws cannot be proven within the universe existing independently by themselves? Nothing can have the quality to give existence to itself, so they cannot be eternal. How about this idea? Nothing to do with Torah explanation of the first day God wanted light to exist and he created light. And then the second, this looks ridiculous. Come on, okay. How about the idea of having a source of existence? Necessarily, logically. Let's argue logically. Don't come with a fixed idea that atheistic approach or interpretation is absolutely correct. I'm not coming with a fixed idea saying that God created the universe. No, I never use this expression, by the way. I never use God created the universe. It is illogical. Do you understand why? Why? Can you explain it?
You were saying earlier that it's not coupled with observation.
Sorry?
There's no evidence to support that
So,
statement.
God, I mean, since you are a seriously thinking person, when I say God, I assume something which is not proven. And say, created the universe. Oh, God, where is it? Where did you get it? So I always say, I use this expression on the other way, which is the Quranic way of thinking. There is no source of existence within the universe, which is in the Quranic language what? Can you guess? There is no source of existence within the universe. It's very frequently used in the Quran. What is this? Not literal sense, meaning is paraphrased with the language in the Quran. What reminded you? There is no source of existence within the universe. Source of existence.
Ilah?
Say it again.
Ilah?
What the Quranic phrase?
Oh,
There is no source of existence within the universe. Come on, try.
I mean, the Shahada is what comes to
Yeah,
mind.
but ilah is correct. There is no ilah. It means in the Quranic language, how is it said?
Yeah, أشهد أن لا إله إلا لا
La
إله
yashhadu. I don't know
Okay.
whether you yashhadu or not.
Okay.
You witnessed or
La
not.
ilaha.
That's all.
لا إله إلا
No, not la ilallah. No.
لا إله لا إله.
La ilaha.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Illallah is prejudice. Wait. At this stage, you cannot say illallah. Well, we are reasoning, human, free reasoning people. So I conclude that the particle cannot be the source of its own existence. It means, in the phrase of the Quran, is La ilaha. What shall I do now? But particle exists. Yeah? But particle exists. Now the second stage comes. There must be a source of existence of the particle. Yeah? There must be a source of existence of the particle. This conclusion must be phrased in the Quran, Allah. In English, God. In another language, maybe something else. Doesn't matter. So, there is nothing within the universe which can be the source of existence of its own self, but there must be a source of existence of the universe together with everything in it. Yeah, everything subject to his will, its will. We don't know he, she, its will. So that it is called in the Quran, huwa. It means it. La ilaha illa. Illa means therefore. Therefore, it. It means it must exist. This it, for example, I say this building has an architect let's, for the sake of argument, let's make it easy. Let's call the architect as John. Like this, John. John means what? The architect of this building, because when I look at the building says definitely I have an architect, conscious choice, consciously arranged me in this way. So that architect is called it. There must be something else than the building itself. There must be something else than the building itself. That something else is called in the Quranic language it. And let's put a name. What is this? John. It says Allah. The same thing. John means by itself nothing. But when you say John is the architect of this building, that is the builder of this universe or the architect of this universe. Yeah, I know. Such a being must exist. I didn't know his name. Doesn't matter. That's why Quran says, La ilaha illa hu. It's very beautiful, isn't it? The Quran is full of who. Any word which says created, chosen, decided this way, knows, sees, or what? It knows, it sees, it decided, it created, or it everywhere in the Quran. Because it's the fundamental, if you like, claim of the Quran introduced to humankind. So you are free, you have free will to choose. Yeah. If someone doesn't think critically, cannot approve, it is belief. Belief means assumption. Here, his or her belief is assumption, not belief. Can you do that? Assumption is belief. Certainty. There's an assumption, certainty. Assumption is assumption, everybody knows. Yeah? So we should not cheat ourselves by hiding ourselves behind our assumptions, saying that, oh, it seems to be okay, without being or establishing confidence in ourselves. So that's why we are responsible to use for our abilities, given abilities. We didn't create abilities. If we don't use it, the result is yours. If you don't study, you don't get the degree. If you don't study, if you don't attend the class, or even if you attend the class but don't pay attention to the professor, teacher, think and understand, then you get the degree. Go to the class and sleep. Okay, example. I am a medical student. Yeah? I go to the university every day. I go to the university. I attend the class, and what I do in the class, I take or sleep. Can I be a doctor? Can I get a degree? Can I be qualified to have the profession? That's what the Quran comes with this news. Hey, everybody will get his degree according to his attention, according to his decision to think or not to think. Free. We have freedom. Right? So every student come to the class. Do you think they learn? All of them? Some of them may not. And everyone learns at a different level, according to what? Their attention, their preparations, etc. How you take the class seriously, and how you want to have a solid knowledge at the end of the class. You question the professor. If you don't understand, you question and raise your hand and ask the question. Why did you say this? I didn't understand. But those students who sleep or busy with texting in class, can they ask questions? Can they say, I didn't understand? The professor will say, of course you don't, because you are sleeping. Do you think the professor will take this question, a request of the student who says, please repeat, I didn't understand? You say, no. Not that you didn't understand, you did not pay attention to and use your qualities. I'm not going to answer. Pay attention from now on, yes. So, laziness is not forgivable. We have to think. We have to use whatever we are given. That's what we are responsible for. That's why we say you can conclude your belief according to your responsibility, within your capacity of responsibility. Okay.
The first thing that we observe anything here is that things are subject to change, right? That's the first thing that we observe. Everything is subject to change. And so if something is subject to change, then it must have an agent of change.
So they cannot be the source of change because they are subject to change, which is the will of something else, not their own will. They have to obey the will of something else.
Okay.
You human beings also, we also
Sure.
obey the will of something else. Eh? We don't make change in our life according to our so, for example, I can only follow the will of the one who gave existence to the universe. That's so simple. And myself within it.
So with all that, when something is subject to change, then it must have conscious will,
Who was it?
that thing, or the change.
Itself.
No, something.
Oh, that's something must have. That's something. Make it clear.
That something must have a conscious will.
Because it established.
Sure.
It is the source of existence of these things.
What I wanted to get to is, if something is subject to change, then it must have a beginning. I can conclude that from my observation within the universe.
Beginning where?
Here in the universe.
At the moment. When? Now.
No. It must have a beginning now.
Be careful here, everybody. My existence today has a beginning now, not yesterday.
Yes.
Because I have changed, my existence changed today within my observation. I am not like as I was yesterday. So these buildings of years backward history, because unknown for practical reason. In fact, there is no need to go and argue on the basis of billions of years. I can argue yesterday's existence, today's existence. An hour ago, existence was different. Now it is different, isn't it? The different things are happening here. Now, every moment it is taking place. So I have to see the quality right now. If I say, for example, if I am able to demonstrate that I can give existence to myself now, yes? If I could demonstrate this, look, I am giving existence to myself now. Understood this clearly? If I could do that. And then I claim that I gave existence to myself yesterday as well. It was me who gave existence to my existence yesterday. It would be valid. If I could demonstrate it now. So any argument which is taken back to billions years ago must be based on reality I am observing now. Realities. So they never talk about it. Atheists never talk about it. They say, it has been developing. You see, it is developing. As if, oh, you see, I am aging. So I am aging myself by myself. They say, no, I am not the point of reference to my aging now, right now. Somebody else is operating in my existence. And this somebody else is operating in the existence of my cells, in the existence of my DNA. Because this is me. When there is no DNA here, then there is I am here. There is no such thing. I am altogether. So if my existence, for example, who can argue that this building has an architect? Okay? But the bricks don't have an architect in the building. What does it mean? Does it make sense? Think freely. Building consists of bricks. Okay. Building has an architect, but bricks don't have an architect. Or one brick, not all. If someone, that's my claim, always I do that, those people who come to the class, they know. If someone demonstrates me that one brick of the universe can give existence to itself and sustain its existence, one particle or quark, or whatever, I don't know, I'm not a physicist. They say smaller things are called quark. They name it, okay. Whatever they mean by it. That means something existing in the universe. But how small it is doesn't matter. One quark exists by itself. Quality is there, I proved it. Can you still believe in God? I don't. I can't. Why? If one quark exists by itself now, it must exist by itself yesterday as well. And the day before. All the quarks acting in the same way. It means the other quark also must exist by itself. Extension continues. So there is no need to believe in a creed. If someone proves to me that one brick within the body of this house exists by itself, decides by itself that I will be there in order to make the whole building, I don't believe in architect, because all the bricks have the same quality. Right? They act in the same way. So why should I believe in an architect? Do you follow it? Is there any reason why should I believe in an architect? Because every part of the building decides in harmony with each other what they are going to do, how they are going to act, communicate within themselves, and make the building. What is the point in believing in an architect? Pointless. In fact, I think we have to understand this is called in the Quranic language ahadiyya of the Creator. In fact, I understand that as a logical conclusion, my logical conclusion, I understand that this building must have an architect because none of the particles in the building has the power to give existence to themselves and decide by themselves what to do. That's why I conclude that the building must have an architect. Now, why do we believe that the whole universe is created by someone else? Because none of the particles of this universe can prove that it has existence by itself, and it decides by itself, it communicates with the others by itself, universe-wise. One article. Yeah, there is no need to believe in that.
So if I,
Have you done with it? With your question?
Yeah, so like you're saying, just like right now,
Keep it.
everything that's subject to change, whatever I am observing right now, must have a beginning. That's it. And since it has a beginning,
Right now.
yeah,
If it has a beginning as it exists right now, right?
Mhm.
It means it must have a beginning yesterday, billions years ago. Again, every time it is given existence by in the will of another thing than the thing itself.
so now you referred it back to the past.
Whatever, even in the future, tomorrow, I will exist. If I say, I will exist tomorrow, what is the way that the Quran teaches us? I will exist tomorrow with the language of the Quran. Continue the sentence.
God willing.
Yes, in the language of the Quran.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Why? Because my existence now depends on the source of existence of this universe. So, if the source of existence of this universe now wills me to exist as I am, tomorrow, yeah, I will definitely exist.
Just like I was given existence.
No. So whether in the past, in the future, I don't care. I care only now. So someone said, it's, certain product of a certain culture, I don't want to name it, coming from religiously claimed but false to me, said in the school, why don't you think reasonably, the professor was asking, or the student, the teacher was asking, why don't you think reasonably? Don't you know that 2 + 2 makes 4? He said, 2 + 2 makes 4, inshallah. The teacher, of course, went crazy. Must have gone crazy. Because what do you mean by inshallah? I can't religion put it. But 2 + 2 makes 4 within the conditions of this universe as it is willed by its creator. If its creator doesn't will so, it doesn't matter. It's so simple. But of course, this student, I said this student coming from falsely claimed religious community culture. Why did I say that? Because this student cannot prove that 2 + 2 makes 4 now, because the order of the universe cannot exist by itself. It depends on the will of something else, and we don't know what is that, because this something else is not within the universe. That's why we call it it. Right? So it must come with the argument that the source of existence of this law or the principle, the order in the universe, is not the universe itself. That must need to be established. It means without La ilaha, any claim for illahu is baseless. So this person's made the thinking of the professor fail, but it doesn't justify that what he said is correct. It must have la ilaha process in order to say illahu. It means therefore. Illahu means therefore. There must be something as to be the source of existence of this universe. So without the prayer, the previous premise or reasoning process, therefore it must exist, doesn't make sense. Therefore means prior, requires prior reasoning. Okay, I think that.
I was just going to ask, if I make the claim that I believe the architect exists, right, of the building exists, and then I say that
Why do you believe that architect
I'm going to get to it. And then I say that the blocks, the bricks, developed by themselves because the architect gave the bricks the ability to develop themselves. This would contradict my claim of belief in the architect to begin with, since I have no ground upon which to come to the conclusion of the architect's existence in the first place, right? Because there are certain claims that, oh yes, the architect exists, but the bricks also form themselves because of the given power by the architect. But it's through the bricks, my observation of the bricks, that I come to the conclusion of the architect anyway.
Yeah, because
So-
of my observation of the brick right now,
Mhm.
I conclude rationally that this brick cannot have existence by itself. I say, and then you go back to the beginning, saying that the will of the creator of this particle, or they call it cell, actually, DNA. So this cell, let's make it simple, because this cell right now needs a creator. That's why those people go back to the beginning, because they don't have this process now. They say, if a cell is acting right now without any will operating in its existence right now, how can I conclude that, as you said, the beginning, the cell has given the quality to do it? For example, can we use our human qualities because we are given this, like a clock? You know, this clock, mechanical clock, somebody set it and now it is working right. Okay. Can you feel that right now you are freely acting as you want, or within the conditions of the one who wills you to operate your free will right now? Which one? Are you ever choosing freely? Choosing from what? Using your free will. By following, can you decide what to choose? Anything?
You have to operate within the confines of the element.
Given conditions and within the capacity of your, again, given conditions. So you have your given conditions and you operate with this given condition within, again, given conditions of the universe. Can you, for example, want the building over there to knock down, right? But can you will that? This so you can will, but it doesn't work. Now we have to understand that right now, our will, our choice, everything is given. Given. we are set free to choose from giving. Again, this freedom is given to you. You cannot say that I am the source of existence of my freedom. So the one who gave existence said, okay, use it within the limits of my conditions. Again, I set you free. We are using our free will because right now I am given freedom. When I am dead, when I am paralyzed, God forbid, can I use it? No, it is not. I'm not really the source of existence of my free will. So it is obvious that we are acting within given conditions. So this is obvious that I'm given. That's so simple. Not right now. So your logic makes sense because those people who say God created the universe from the beginning, how do you know? From the, excuse me, how do you know? Because the cells are acting in a way that they cannot do it now. When? Now. If they cannot do it by themselves now, they cannot be, they couldn't be doing what they are doing yesterday either. It means they are subject to will of something else. That's why I say you are acting according to the will of your creator right now. There is no need to go to the back to the beginning at all. That's why any argument which takes us, any atheistic argument, religious argument, which takes us to the beginning or somewhere else rather than my right now position is false. Right now, what I'm responsible for my chosen.
So, kind of backtracking a little bit, but can we say that any argument that takes order on one hand and the universe on the other hand, like gives them a separate entity,
If they,
any argument that does this already presupposes or implicitly is saying that order is not subject to change, that it has an independent existence, if you will, and does not recognize that order is nominal, that it is a result of my observation within the universe.
my conclusion, my naming it.
My naming it
My
as
naming
a result of my observation,
putting a name.
right, in the universe, and also that the order itself is also limited, right? Because order cannot choose, if you will, to be disordered, for example.
No,
It doesn't. It doesn't.
that much. No. Order doesn't have. I mean, if someone says order has an external existence,
That's already.
it's already the baseless. So order doesn't change. It means we are talking about something which doesn't have existence. How can we talk about how it acts?
Right.
But there's no such thing. That's just my observation of the matter or the universe, not necessarily matter, everything in the universe, because the universe doesn't consist of matter only. So, everything in the universe.
Right. So to refute it, it doesn't recognize that order is nominal. It's my naming of it. The order doesn't have a separate entity.
Naming of it, you said, okay? Make clear what it means.
Naming of what I observe in the universe as far as how things come into existence or how they operate.
They are brought into existence, and I qualify certain things, and I call it order. And I call it order.
Right.
So, in fact, there is no external existence of order. That's so simple. So, but we see that there is something, according to my capacity of thinking, I call it order. Yeah? Not accidental. Not accidental, but order. I call it order. So I reject arbitrary action of the matter. I cannot accept that they are arbitrarily acting. Would you like to continue?
I mean, I don't have much else to add. Just that because if like the fact that order cannot choose to be disorderly, for example.
Oh, this is too far. There is no need not because it cannot choose to be
Right.
disorderly,
It's just,
assumes that as if
it can.
order has an independent
Right.
existence. So there is no there is no need to go further because this is just a baseless assumption. So natural laws are just names that are imposed, inculcated into our minds and our language without realizing we use nature. I think nature, what we mean by nature in our daily language, the universe. The universe is set as it is created because it cannot create itself.
Yeah, and so within this order that I observed, that I named, or the way things coming to existence,
The way the things come
Come
into
into
that's the best
existence.
expression.
I also observed qualities of consciousness, of
Yeah,
purpose,
quality.
qualities that because they don't seem arbitrary to me, they don't seem random to me. There seems to be very explicit
Purposefulness,
preference
preference.
in the arrangement of the way things are coming into existence in front of me. And so I can say that the universe with order, or the universe in the way it comes into existence, because it is subject to change,
I see that it is subject.
it is subject to change. It cannot be it cannot be absolutely necessary in and of itself.
Yeah.
However, it must be a result of a source which must be absolutely necessary.
Must be. This must be my logical conclusion. So these materialist people keep challenging that, show me God doing this. I say, I am not idiot, and you shouldn't ask me a question as if you are speaking to an idiot. Why? I'm not saying God is doing it. I'm saying the things are coming into existence in a way that there must be a source, which is called it. If you like, whatever you put. Yeah, whatever the name you use. But it's not in the universe. It cannot be of the nature of the universe. So simple. That's it. Show me. It's not in the universe. Stupid man. Don't you understand? Why do you come with a prejudice idea that I'm challenging religious people? That's why I say I'm not religious people. I'm a human being. That's my conclusion. But what is out there, the source of or any cultural thing which says there must be a God who created the universe, I cannot say no. My conclusion says yes, there must be such a thing. But their further religious explanations may not make sense. That is up to them. But for me, there must be a source of existence.
Something that you just reminded me with the example of like this building must have an architect, or the bricks are making themselves. In that comparison, even when I say the bricks are making themselves, I'm still saying the bricks are the architects. Like the quality of an architect is still, it has to be given to something. Which every single scenario.
Every time. Yeah, you are claiming that they are the architect, and you have to prove. Demonstrate the quality.
There must be one. It's a matter of where do I.
So they are communicating with each other. Let's stay here because this man needs a protection. Yeah, demonstrate it. And then I believe you. If you convince me, yes.
When we say order, so one aspect of the order is regularity, right?
I see in the universe regularity in changing.
Regularity in changing. So how things are being put in existence. how things are being brought into existence, what we call order.
That's what we call order.
Yeah.
After observing the
After
existence
observing.
of the universe. Now, if there was no universe, no one could say order. Now there is no universe, but there is order there, out there standing. No one can say. So another for religious side, if there was no universe and existence, well, it is impossible for a human being to say that. But I didn't exist. Do you think I would believe in that? There's nothing existent. They say that this existent thing, but the belief in it, God, which is called God, comes from observing the universe. If there was no universe, I would never be talking about God or the source of existence. There is no existence, and if I say, there must be a source of existence, logically inconsistent. There is no existence. So that is why we have to be very careful with the language that we are using. God created the existence is illogical. Now, existence needs a creator, a source of existence. That is conclusion. And the conclusion is called, in the language of the religious sources, creation. This conclusion is called this. What did I say? I'm tired of it. Belief. Belief means what? Your logical conclusion, which cannot be observable physically in terms of universe. Your logical conclusion, that's what the source, religious source says. You cannot describe the source of existence in any way that likening it to any part of the universe. Right? You never liken it. So if you say God is like this, like that, it means you cannot describe it because it is the source of existence of the universe. So the source of existence cannot be like what it has created or given existence. It is the source of existence. That's what we can say only. It cannot be of the nature of the universe. So why we cannot describe God by this? In any way, it is impossible to describe the source of existence of the universe. But what we can do, I can see certain qualities in the creation. I say the source of existence of this quality is not within the universe. So there must be something else than the universe who is the source of this quality. Right? So I say this is beautiful. Okay, the source of existence of beauty I observe is not within the universe. And I say this is orderly. The source of existence of orderliness is not within the universe. All not within the universe, not within the universe, the description of God with not within the universe. So you cannot get out of this. So you cannot describe the source of existence, which is called in the religious language, God cannot be describable. Why? Why cannot? But I'm sure it must exist. I say, I am sure such a being must exist. Such a being must exist. This is called belief. Belief is not assumption. Belief is not prejudice or cultural, never, ever, but hateful. I really hate this cultural belief. So it doesn't make sense. It blames the nature of belief. If someone says, I believe in God, I said, you must be an idiot. And you must be given the reason. That you speak with the reason. Don't come with your conclusion. Your conclusion is yours. When you speak to me, come with a conclusion. Evidence.
Would you? I'm just interested in the word belief that you're using because people sometimes use the word belief and faith synonymously. But faith, it's interesting, is I was looking at the definition.
Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you are free to read, but doesn't matter. Whatever people say.
Yeah,
I don't care about other people, what they say.
I think it's interesting. One of the definitions of faith is strong belief in God or the doctrines of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. And that's oftentimes the way people talk about it.
That's dictionary.
Yeah,
Who cares?
yeah.
Dictionary meaning is given to it by the one who wrote the dictionary. I don't
Right.
care this because there's no need. Belief means this. Faith means this. So they are not the same. There's no need to argue because these are other people's considerations. I don't care. I care about my own conclusion. But I'm convinced now. But the dictionary means nothing for me. Yeah, but it should mean nothing to you as well. So I don't pay attention to what they say. Now, whatever they may say something right, they may say something wrong. That's their idea. You are concerned with your own conclusion.
I think that people kind of try to use that type of language though to make you doubt your conclusions.
So
To make you think that
people are free to be stupid followers, imitators. None of my business. I don't want to be an imitator. I want to have confidence in my conclusion through my observation. As a human being, I'm responsible within my own capacity. So we have to be concerned with ourselves, not with other people. So let's stop it. The time is really. It's our next week. Next week. I'm here or not. I think I'm next week. The following week, I will ask for next week. The following week, Saturday on. Okay, for the moment we are here. Sure. Next week also. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.